A federal judge has thrown a wrinkle into the Department of Justice's efforts to overturn Obama-era police reforms. On Friday, U.S. District Judge James K. Bredar denied the DOJ's request to put on hold the implementation of a consent decree agreement between the Obama Justice Department and the city of Baltimore regarding major police reforms pending a review by the Trump administration. In the ruling, the judge wrote, quote, "There's no suggestion that when counsel for the parties signed their agreement that they did not have the full and complete authority to bind their clients to its terms. The time for expressing grave concerns has passed, and instead, parties must now execute the agreement as they promised they would." Attorney General Jeff Sessions expressed disappointment in the decision, saying, quote, "I have grave concerns that some of the provisions of this decree will reduce the lawful powers of the police department and result in a less safe city." Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh had a different take.
I believe that what we put together was right for Baltimore and certainly right for our police department, and that we were committed, as I said to you all the other day, of moving this consent decree forward. So I think this is a great victory for the citizens of Baltimore as well as for our police department.
Meanwhile, the NAACP has put the Justice Department on notice that it will fight attempts to shut down consent decree agreements with police departments across the country. Joining me now is Ngozi Ndulu, Senior Director of Criminal Justice Programs for the NAACP. Here's the first thing I'm trying to understand here. Okay, so they make this decision, Jeff Sessions, and it's as if he's giving police officers an excuse as opposed to actually reading the report and seeing how shameful the conduct has been of the Baltimore Police Department.
Well, absolutely. Attorney General Sessions had already made statements where he said that he hadn't actually read the reports, and he was still already voicing his objections to them.
So he hasn't read the report, but he has grave concerns. How about you read it?
Right. I mean, that seems like that would be the first step, because when you actually read that report, I mean, the Department of Justice did a very thorough review and found instances that I don't think that anyone can really argue about what is wrong with policing in Baltimore, just like they did in Ferguson, just like they did in Chicago, right? We're talking about systemic issues with policing that the Attorney General is not willing to have the Department of Justice actually address with local police departments, because that's also something that's important to note here, that Baltimore is asking for the help of the federal government. So in the guise of saying that we're supporting local police departments, where the Attorney General is actually going against that and saying, well, the local police department doesn't really know what they're talking about. It's a problem.
This is, first of all, we saw him go before the state's attorney generals and say, oh yeah, we're going to pull back on this. This administration wants to do whatever they can to back police departments, back law enforcement. But what they're saying is the hell with citizens. Because if you read that report, if you read the Chicago report, if you read the Cleveland report, if you read the Philadelphia report, the New Orleans report, the Ferguson report, I mean, you see instances where law enforcement in those areas has been ruling with an iron fist against police. And it is as if Jeff Sessions is saying, we're going to let you guys do whatever you want. The hell with anybody overlooking your shoulder.
Right, and I don't see anywhere where systematic civil rights violations is actually helpful for public safety, right? If you are having issues with crime, the solution to those issues cannot be, well, go, arrest, beat up, people without regard to whether they have actually done anything wrong, without regard to the racial disparities that are going on. Basically, you're saying that civil rights are incompatible with public safety? That can't be right.
I'm going to bring in a couple of our panelists. A. Scott Bolden, attorney and former chair of the Washington, D.C. Democratic Party. Angelo Pinto, senior attorney, Advancement Project, member of the Justice League of New York City. Again, this is Trump saying, we don't care. forget civil rights. All that stuff Sessions said during his confirmation hearings, we all know was a flat-out damn lie. He had no intentions of backing civil rights, and he wants to be Mr. Law and Order.
Well, you know, the really interesting thing, or the thing to really focus on here, is the basis for Jeff Sessions' comments are that there are provisions in the consent decree that make it unsafe or make cities unsafe. It borders on the nonsensical. What do these consent decrees do? They invest and require police departments and cities to invest in more training, in technology, invest in how to de-escalate interactions with young people and protesters. It's idiotic that a statement like that would be made when all these consent decrees do is get you back to normalcy or to excellence as a police department.
No,
who would not want that?
Angela, what it gets you to is protect and serve the people. Jeff Sessions wants to protect and serve the police officers.
And the other piece is it's the dismantling of the Department of Justice. I think Jeff Sessions has consistently tried to do that, and addressing and pulling back from these consent decrees is a way to do that. I mean, a consent decree is an agreement between the federal government and a locality. If a locality is saying we want you to come in and now the federal government is saying they don't want to, that's a serious problem. And the federal government are the folks to do that, because the locality has shown a pattern and practice of unlawfulness in the department. So if the federal department can't come in, who's going to come in and look at those?
And it's the job of the DOJ to oversee and to enforce the law.
But they don't want to do that anymore.
Well, what happened to state rights, though, in this regard? I mean, the Republicans are the trouble.
States' rights and local control.
Exactly. They want state rights and local control, except when they don't. And in this case, they don't. They want the police to go back to what they believe to be some normalcy we believe is abnormalcy, if you will.
And I think it's important to note that actually implementing the terms of these consent decrees is making us all safer. Right? When you do not feel like
safe.
right? And I'm talking about the community and the police. So I just think that it is disingenuous to say that you are working on the relationship between law enforcement and community, and you're not willing to actually do what needs to be done and what the community has asked you to do.
A peaceful protest turned deadly. 37-year-old black man was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police. His hands are in the air, and you still get shot by the cops.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
We're not going to let hate define us.
Race is a big part of this.
If truly all lives matter, then all lives need to matter equally.
What we require is action. What we require is accountability. We understand that black lives do matter, and we will keep focused on this issue.
NewsOne Now, every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.